So it's outside for the first time in a long time, in the rain, and it looks, well, a bit of a mess. Oh, like an abandoned car or something. Still, I need to bleed the brake, so I'm going to crack on. Bleeding everything through. Bit of air getting in there, but I think from this rather than anything else, look, more like it. So with the help of my neighbour, it's now back in the garage. And what have I done? I've done bled the brakes, so I have some pedal, but not all of it. I've been looking for a fuel leak, which I think is a snapped connector, one of the new ones. Rather irritating, it's sprayed up and it's taken the paint off of that. So I need to redo that, and there's lots that need cleaning, but hey, thankfully it's petrol and diesel, so it's not greasy. I've also refitted the mud flaps and adjusted the ride height down a bit. So obviously it's got to settle, but that's considerably better than it was. So as a result of the catastrophic fuel leak, I have for the moment just linked out the fuel filter. That's gone until the correct one arrives. Turning the thing on, fuel pump primes, sound of fuel peeing out everywhere. Question was, where on earth is that? I couldn't see anything under the engine bay, but I've just run my hand underneath the back of the car and it looks like it's down by the back of the tank. So let's jack it up and have a look. So I have a puddle of petrol and it's coming off the back of the fuel tank, which means it's probably coming from the top of the fuel tank, which means that either perhaps probably the pipe's come off the top, isn't it? Let's face it. So now I've got to try and get the fuel tank down. Ugh, what a nightmare. Okay, well that's, I guess, next. I think I'm going to try and straighten the car up a bit in here because I'm no too far one way than the other. So I'm just going to bring it forward and backwards a couple of times and try and straighten it up. It's absolutely hacking it down. And it's sat on foam, so that's a problem. So, right, okay. Oh, I'm so close. Well, I don't know if you can see, but that will definitely do it. The feed pipe from the tank has come off for some reason. So I will reconnect that and see where we go. What a horrible job. Fuel tank had some fuel in it, a bit of fuel in it, and it was heavy, really heavy. So to chock it up with bits of wood to try and get it there, and the fuel tank strap didn't want to move, and what an absolute nightmare. So about 40 minutes of laying underneath the car in a puddle of fuel, and now I'm higher than Christmas. So yeah, it's really late, about 1:45. I'm just going to try and swap the outputs on the ECU to see whether that makes a difference as to whether it might start. If it starts, fantastic, happy days. If not, then I'm just going to tidy up and call it quits for tonight. Oh man. Okay, so everything's bodge blocked together. We now have no fuel leaks, and when I click on test for fuel pump relay, it seems to work. However, when I try to start the car, nothing happens. So that's interesting. Well, it's the end of a very long night for me. I think it's about 2, something like that. I've tried a number of different things to try and get the car to start, but no joy. And I suspect the reason why is because it's seeing an invalid signal from the cam sensor. Now, possibly because this is the wiring, which I made the assumption brown to brown, waiting to hear Ignition Advantages back to see if they had an answer on it. And yeah, I just assume that it is wrong. So I'll try swapping those over, not now, and then see if it starts next time I'm out here. Apart from that, bled the brakes, but pedal's still a bit low, probably need to bleed them again. Yeah, I think we're getting there. Well, I'm slightly more awake. It's cold, but I'm outside, and Ignition Advantages have messaged me back and said, yes, I think your non-start issue probably is that those 2 cables that are in your cam sensor, if it can't see the cam sensor, it probably won't start. So swap those cables over. So I'm going to swap those cables over, see what happens next. I've popped off the intake and done a very elegant job of just wiring in a bodge block for the moment, because I've had to trim that wiring link back a bit more, and a bit more, and a bit more, and there soon won't be enough left, so this gives me at least enough to try. It's still not going, but I do now seem to have the various different bits working here. Okay, it's the end of another late evening, and well, not to be completely defeated by the fact that I can't get the car running, I decided I would wire in everything that I know works. So that's now done. And I've tucked the wiring loom across the back, and although it's a bit messy, just because of all the wiring that's been added to it over the years and things like alarm systems, tracker and so on that have been wired into it, I've cable tied it together just to try and make it a bit neater. So it's there, and it's much neater than it was because it was just everywhere. There's a wiring loom tied up there, and there's another one, just a positive loom tied at the top there, just out of the way. And then obviously all these bits and pieces connect to the dashboard, but I just need to refoam the tops of these vents because this has all come away and got loose over the years. So I'm going to put fresh in there, which I've already got, and then refit the dashboard. That's going to be a job for another day. Yeah, slowly getting there. I think I can put this back together again, and then I can tell clutch feels fantastic. You'll excuse the fact I've taken my shoes off because I've been climbing through the interior. Clutch feels good, I think. Obviously you can't really tell till you're driving it, can you? Lovely click there of the clutch ratchet pull. Brake pedal needs some more pumping, it's just far too low there. That's very slowly getting pressure, but it's just way too soft, so I need to do that. And the throttle pedal, well, the cable's too long because the pedal just hasn't got enough travel there to open that up all the way, so I need to find a better solution for that. I've ordered what they said was a Focus throttle cable, and actually I know it to be a Mark 4, Mark 5 Fiesta, but it looks right, so I'm going to try it and see. It was only a tenner, so we'll give it a go.